Hello, welcome to another video on the Scouring Early Access. Today's match is going to be a 4v4 match with me, the Perfect Gamer, with my allies Sparrow, Attila, and Demulka. And our enemy team is going to be Anarchist Octopus, Indiana Jones, Amon of Assess, and Dinchi Code. Over here I spawn as the Orange Orc player. I'm pretty much going to be doing, I guess, some kind of new build order. Or I'm going to be trying to rush out all the flying heads or the devourer units. But of course I'm going to need all the wood, which is why after making barracks, I'm going to try to somewhat make a logging camp relatively quickly. And in the meantime, making a few warriors that I can use to gain some extra gold by killing some neutrals, which is gonna allow me to have some kind of forces to defend myself while I'm gonna be trying to make a lot of devourers. And over here, the Cyan player, Sparrow, looks like he's doing warrior build order with a usual single worker logging camp. Here, the yellow orc player, Demulka, a Russian player. So like he made a barracks and a logging camp. But looks like he's just making a few warriors to begin with. Not really sure what's the point of a forge, because you rarely make a forge in the beginning of the game. You only make one if you are thinking that the enemies are going to be rushing you. So making one or two cannons can be pretty useful when defending against 2 or 3 players at one time. So here my final ally, Purple Orc, Attila. Looks like he made a few warriors. He's going to be transferring into auto archer production. Over here, the first enemy, the Black Orc, Amon of Assess. Looks like he just made a usual warrior build order. So auto warriors and a logging camp with a few workers. Over here, the White Orc player, Dinchi Code. So like he made a few warriors to have some kind of maybe small front line. Now he's going to be making a lot of archers, which are good for DPS. Here the next enemy, Anarchist Octopus. It's playing against the Blue Orcs. Here you can see he made 2 warriors. And now he's making a lot of archers. And a final enemy, the Red Orc, Indiana Jones. Looks like he just made a handful of warriors. Instead of producing more army, I guess, he decides to get a tier 2 and a forge. So I'm gonna have to see what he's gonna be investing all these resources into. Could be a shield ability, or it could be cannons with artillery, so we're gonna have to find out a bit later. Now here you can see I'm able to capture this outpost, get some extra XP and gold, which I can of course invest into making more devourers, and I guess bigger economy as well. And here, started making a Demon Spire. After completion, I'm going to be able to start Devourer production. This is basically a similar build order to, I guess, fast munchers, but instead of having 5 warriors or muncher build order to defend yourself, I decided to have a few more warriors before trying to get a tier 2 and then make a demon spire. Yep, over here you can see Saya, a big army of warriors. I have a similar amount myself. Yellow has all the warriors. Made a cannon. It's getting a shield ability. Purple is making a forge. And I guess just killing some neutrals. Black player. So he's making a few cannons. And he has a good handful of warriors. And the white player looks like he's also making a lot of cannons, or thinking of making a good amount. While also making all the archers. Interestingly here, he decides to clear all of these units by himself. Even though he doesn't have that many units, but we can see here, he somehow manages to only lose one unit, which is very, I guess, skilled gameplay, you can say. Takes on micromanaging. From here you can see blue player trying to see there's more trolls to kill around here, but I think the middle one was already cleared by now. And of course he has a group of archers getting a tier 2, and he's getting a forge. Here you can see the red player. I guess, yeah, we can see here he did go into this strategy of making all the warriors, getting the shield ability. Now he's probably going to be thinking of just interesting. I would think he would make more warriors, but we can see he's starting to produce some archers. Here you can see I'm slowly building up my numbers of devourers here. I don't want to really reveal to the enemy that I'm currently making any of them. So I'm just trying to hide them in the back of my base. And of course, I decided to get a second base instead of trying to make more devourers. They're very expensive, and having a second base is gonna greatly help me with devourer production. Which is why I decided to make a second base instead of course, just making them from one base economy. Here you can see the the black and white orcs are now moving it against my ally, purple player. And it does look like the purple player lost his whole army. It looks like white player maybe lost a few archers. And so this attack was pretty devastating. And in the meantime, the red player was trying to be annoying here, but I do manage to scare him away after destroying his cannon with my devourers here. Here you can see the enemies are kind of fighting pretty effectively. We already killed purple's army, side player's army. And now there's just a handful of yellow warriors here. Here I was not really committing to any attack. I'm just trying to see what's over here. Maybe kill barracks. These demon heads. But then after seeing a good amount of blue units here, I decide to eventually retreat. Here you can see somehow the yellow player, the Russian player, managed to save the purple player here by somehow killing both the armies of the black and white player. I guess with his focus attacks against their units. So here the purple player is still alive, and he can pretty much act as a meat shield at this point, because he did lose a lot of his workers. It's gonna take him a long time to get back into a proper production. We can see the Yelper is getting a second base. I already had one for a while. I even made a second Demon Spire, so I can make even more demon heads. Over here, the white player manages to also get a second base. Nice. Almost finishing up his tier 2 upgrade. But here we can see the black and white players. They're still thinking of doing a big attack. So they're still sending a good amount of units in this direction. But there's a lot of allies here that are ready to face this attack, I guess. The Sign and the Yelper. Up here, not much was happening. And I did see in a minimap here that my allies were fighting here. So I find that I can be more helpful here. So I send these heads to go and reinforce this position. Even though you can see here that the black and white players pretty much lost most of their stuff here anyways, even without my help. So, but of course, on top of all my heads being here, then it's going to be very difficult for the enemies to do anything at this point. Here just left my warriors to slow down any kind of push that would be coming from my side of the map here. And of course, I was just continuing to make more Devourers, because I had full saturated gold mines at this point. Here, of course, my enemies were having trouble with defending against this. You can see just a few heads can be extremely effective by destroying buildings very quickly because they're a bit unbalanced. But I guess that's just how it is for now. Here you can see they're just melting these buildings. There's not much you can do, even though I guess the cannons are supposed to be able to counter the heads, but we're gonna see here how they're not gonna be really doing much, which is a bit of a shame, because there's not much else you can do. There's a lot of heads, but make a lot of cannons, but of course the cannons can't even kill the heads effectively. Then basically the counter to the heads doesn't even work as intended, I guess. Which can be a little frustrating when fighting against the flying heads. But pretty much my allies were able to kill the black player. And for some reason, while I was in the middle of fighting the white player here, the red and blue players, they were just hanging around here and not really attacking me, which I guess allowed me to just make a lot of heads. And I have a huge army of heads here myself. I guess only now they decide to attack. And here you can see how I can just go around the cannons and quickly dispatch them. And then any kind of archers, they also melt away, especially when they're level 1 archers. So this combo can be a little interesting because the warriors are basically like a meat shield. You can use them to distract all the ranged enemies like archers or cannons. Just gonna allow all of your heads to move in and destroy the enemy. Especially if the enemies are making warriors or, I guess, munchers. Those units are going to be unable to help you against a big army of heads. So this way you kind of can make a very effective synergy between these two units, I guess. But of course, other units can also be pretty helpful with the Devourers. Anyways, let's see the results. Here you can see it was a relatively quick game, but even though it was quick, I was able to get a lot of gold. I guess roughly maybe 6,000 more gold than the average player here. And then managed to make a lot of units because, of course, of my economy. And of course, killing neutrals and enemies allowed me to have the extra gold to build more things as well. Anyways, if you liked the video, you can leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to see more videos in the Scouring Early Access, then you can subscribe. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.